The Galactic Council chambers had never witnessed such defiance. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the center of the crystalline amphitheater, her dark eyes scanning the assembled representatives of 17 different species. Each delegate sat within their species-specific environmental pods, their alien forms barely visible through the shimmering barriers that maintained their unique atmospheric requirements. "The terms are non-negotiable," declared Praetor Zixthul, his voice echoing through the translation matrix with the authority of 10,000 years of hegemony rule. The Vorthak's 6 eyes glowed crimson as he gestured with his chitinous appendages toward the holographic contract floating between them. Humanity will surrender 70% of its military assets, submit to hegemony oversight of all technological development, and provide tribute in the form of raw materials and biological specimens. Elena's jaw tightened at the euphemism. Slaves. They wanted human slaves. Around the chamber, other species representatives nodded their approval, or what passed for approval among their various anatomies. The hegemony's peace had brought prosperity to the galaxy for millennia. They claimed it was simply humanity's turn to be integrated into the natural order. "And if we refuse?" Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. The Etherian delegate, whisper of distant stars, spoke in harmonics that made the translation system strain. "Then humanity faces the combined might of the galactic hegemony. Your species has shown remarkable tenacity in your brief conflicts with individual member worlds, but against all of us, united." The crystalline being's form flickered with what might have been amusement. "Even humans cannot fight mathematics." Elena smiled, an expression that had begun to unnerve the various alien delegates during these negotiations. "You're right about one thing. Humans can't fight mathematics." She reached into her diplomatic pouch, withdrawing a small device that immediately set off proximity alarms throughout the chamber. "However," she continued as security drones began converging on her position, "humans excel at changing the equation." The device in her hand wasn't a weapon, it was a beacon, and it had just transmitted a very specific signal to every corner of the galaxy. Praetor Zixthul's mandibles clicked in agitation. "What have you done?" "We studied your hegemony for 3 years after first contact," Elena explained conversationally, even as energy weapons powered up around her. "Fascinating structure, really. 17 species all integrated under Vorthak leadership through a combination of economic dependence, technological suppression, and the threat of overwhelming force." The chamber's main display flickered to life, showing tactical readouts from across the galaxy. Red warning symbols began appearing on dozens of worlds. "You see, the foundation of your peace is control. Control of trade routes, control of advanced technology, control of military assets. You've spent millennia ensuring that no single member species could challenge the hegemony alone." Elena's smile widened. "But you made one critical error in your calculations." More red symbols appeared on the display. The Zephyrian representative, a gaseous being contained within a mobility suit, released what their translation matrix interpreted as a wail of dismay. "You assumed humans would play by the same rules as every other species you've conquered." The truth was elegant in its simplicity. For 3 years, while the hegemony had been focused on humanity's impressive, but ultimately insufficient military, human agents had been busy, not building fleets or developing weapons. Those would have been detected and countered. Instead, they had been doing what humans did best, making friends. On 17 worlds, revolution had just begun simultaneously, not led by the subjugated species themselves. The hegemony's control systems were too sophisticated for that. Led by humans who had spent years learning alien languages, understanding alien cultures, and most importantly, sharing human concepts of freedom, self-determination, and the radical idea that peace was something to be chosen, not imposed. The Keltharian mining collectives have just seized control of the Tri-System refineries, Elena reported cheerfully, as more tactical data flooded in. The Mordakian merchant guilds have blockaded their own trade routes. Oh, and the Etherian. Colonial worlds have declared independence, Apparently, whisper of distant stars here doesn't speak for all Etherians after all. Chaos erupted in the chamber as delegates began receiving frantic communications from their homeworlds. The mathematical certainty of hegemony supremacy was crumbling in real time. Praetor Zixthul rose to his full, imposing height. This changes nothing, order will be restored. Will it? Elena asked. Because according to my calculations, the hegemony just lost approximately 60% of its industrial capacity, 40% of its raw material sources, and... She paused as another update came through. Oh my, it looks like the Nexari just abandoned their posts at the hyperspace junction stations. The Vorthak's crimson eyes burned with fury. We still possess the superior fleet. We can crush these rebellions. You possess superior fleets, Elena corrected. Fleets that are now scattered across 17 different crisis zones, dealing with species that have suddenly remembered what it means to fight for their own freedom. Meanwhile, humanity's inadequate military is currently, let me check. Yes, they're systematically destroying every hegemony supply depot and communication relay within 50 light-years of Earth. The tactical display painted the story in stark detail. The hegemony's forces, designed to project overwhelming power against a single target, were being bled dry by a galaxy-wide insurgency. Every world they moved to suppress saw 2 more rise in rebellion. Their supply lines were cut, their communications network was fragmenting, and their member species were discovering that the price of hegemony peace had been their dignity. You wanted peace on your terms, Elena said, addressing the chamber as security drones finally surrounded her. You defined peace as submission, order as oppression, and unity as the absence of choice. But humans have a different definition. She raised her hands in surrender, still smiling. We believe peace is what happens when people are free to choose cooperation over conquest. When different species can trade, learn from each other, and grow together without fear. When the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. The chamber fell silent except for the continued stream of crisis reports. The hegemony is dead, Elena announced. Not because humanity destroyed it, but because we showed everyone else that there was a choice. That peace doesn't require a master. As the security drones moved to restrain her, Elena looked directly at Praetor Zixthul. Your species built an empire on the idea that order required oppression. Humans just proved that the strongest peace is the one everyone chooses to keep. The revolution would take months to fully unfold. The restructuring of galactic civilization would take years. But in that moment, in a crystalline chamber designed to showcase the inevitable submission of lesser species to hegemony authority, humanity had done what it did best. They had changed the game entirely, and for the first time in 10,000 years the galaxy would know what true peace looked like. Not the peace of the conquered, but the peace of the free.